Hi everyone. Today our project is going to be on a bird, but this is going to go into graphite. So it's a more skill-based kind of a video where you get to pick up a lot of instruction on how to create shades, lights and darks, and work with the pencil very intensively. So if this is something that you're interested in, then this video is definitely for you. Now, this is the second in its series, and I hope that it gives you enough information and it's worth your time. Thank you. So first things first, I need you to divide your paper space into the sections for the neck, the upper body, the beak, all the rest of it. So I need you to draw lightly. Do not draw it really heavy at all. First thing, try the body. So from the bottom here, you're going to go 1, I don't like to draw it in one line because when I'm looking at the bird, I see a lot of changes in its neck direction, which is why I make it this way. Next, on here, you see a wrinkle for the top, and it kind of goes out like so. Here we go. This is my line over here. And I would like to see from the body here, at this point, this is a tip of the beak. I want that tip to come in directly overhead over here, this point. So straight line. I did not connect the neck to the beak. This is the main center line of the beak that I've just drawn. Straight to the back. Diagonal coming down. Stop. Change direction. Try not to make this sketching motion on this line because these lines are so skinny and they're very even that you want to do it one time with your hand. It makes a great big difference. I'm going to remove off this bottom little spot right here. Going to the top of the beak again, like so. Diagonal line down. And again. I am not finished the tip of the beak. I've just drawn the extensive lines that I see. Now I'm going to magnify my reference picture so that I can see where the bottom of the beak is. I got it. I want you to come in front here, and you have 1, 2, 3. This is the way that the bottom of the beak tends to show itself. And then from this line, you're going to drag it to disappear, so to say, under. We made the beak so far, and we've started the body. What you need to think of, everyone, look at this space, this negative space that's kind of shaping. Instead of looking at the bird's beak and the body, can you tell me what shape you see of the black portion between the body? And once you draw the beak and the body here, can you look at it and tell me that it looks just like the one in the picture on my computer? That will help you know that you made the lines perfectly. If you say that it looks like it, there you go. That's what you want to know. So in my case, I want this line to go out just a bit further before it starts to bend and before it starts to come out. So I'm going to chisel a bit more than what I already had. This would be my curve for the body. From the top of the beak here, extend the line up. 1, change direction. 2, you want to be at this point, look at this, directly above the indent of your neck. So it needs, this line needs to finish to there. So if you put a pencil, this indent and the highest point on the head have to be aligned. After which you level it off. Better? Yeah. Okay. Now watch. The place where you put this line for the wrinkle in the bird's neck, this is where you have the back of the bird's head right there. And you would make a diagonal line to the front of it, sorts, and this would come downward. So check for all of these things, and you can realign the top of the head, make it a little bit more. And you want to turn in. Now, when I look at my picture on the camera in front, I can see the differences. So because it's distant. And so I can shape things a little bit better after I see them. This feels better now. I feel like this part right here of the bird's beak needs to be a little bit taller for this. So 1 minute. This feels better to me. So I'm going to keep that for a minute and just work on it going on. Come to the back of the bird's body. The shape of the black, not the body, is going to be this. I'm looking at this shape. Sometimes it really helps to not draw the object, but to draw that space around it. That really helps you kind of nail it, in my opinion. Now again, I feel a little uncomfortable with the way that the neck is. So I'm going to take this line and this area off a little bit. When I look at it, I feel like it is not matching up. So again, 1, 2, 3. Again, all of the things that I'm doing are based on, I keep looking at the picture. My first drawing has to be spot on. Because if that's not spot on, then everything else I do is going to be bad as well. So I take more time in this, is what it is. Look at how many times I myself have shaped and reshaped this body, not to mention what you guys have done. Now going up to the eye. So the way that you want to do it is first, you want to say, where would it be? It would be right here on this line. How far from the back can you not go? So I would say right under this cleft here, this one, if you put your pencil there, the back of it needs to be right there. This is the back of your eye. You cannot use the space behind it. The front of your eye is going to be a little ways away from the beak, so it doesn't automatically kick in. So here we go. Right there. Shape of the bird's eye, get rid of this line now that you positioned it. So you want to have diagonal going up, round, diagonal, that's just the black part of the bird's eye. This is not the skin around it. It's just the black part. That's how I've read it. So again, going in this corner here, the inner corner, the eye comes out, it indents, something like that. So you have that. The lower lid around the bird's eye seems to be a bit thicker. So you're going to make a diagonal line here. Follow the bottom of the bird's eye all the way up to this back area right there. The top lid is way skinnier. It is nowhere close to what the bottom was. So you can just create a parallel line all the way around it. Like so. You of course want to be this feels too squarish on the back. Hold on. That feels better. More like the eye that I'm looking at. Now, the red pigment around the bird's body, on the beak and all the rest of it, that's where we're going next. So one step at a time, from this part, straight line, letter U, go around the big beak, higher. Come over the top of the eye, straight line to the back. One, down, out, there. I cannot explain the shape of it. It's just what I'm looking at. So I'm seeing it and I'm drawing it. Now go to the widest part of this portion here and go diagonally opposite, put a dot right here. You go to the corner of the eye and you're going to make a gentle curve right there. And bend it backward just a bit, not too much. This turns around and it comes to connect down here. So it's going to connect here. So if this is your indent, this is where you changed the direction of the line. You want to be a bit higher and you're going to go right there. While we have the bird's eye in magnification, this is a great time to put in its bright spots. So here we go. Study the bright spots. It's not just one. I'm going to go sharpen my pencil. It's dulled out. So yeah. All right. So now you have almost a total of 3 spots. First spot is a box. second one is a little bit further away, it's smaller, and the third one is even more smaller. Now, bringing it back out, this is what we have. Have a look at your bird. Make sure that you like all the shape of it so far, whatever you've done. And we are moving to taking care of the beak is the next step. And then we start working on all our graphites. So zooming in on the beak, let's just put this up here. Here's your beak in totality. So first things first, the bottom line has to wrap itself up. So let me just magnify this, push this over. So look at this. The very underline that is here, it closes up. So you can finish this one off. And you want to erase away of just a little bit of this so that you can shape it properly now. So the next line that's coming down towards the tip of it winds itself over there. And I'd like to make this center line a little less thick. It looks really bulky. So if you have any thick lines, see if you can diminish them to looking a little bit more manageable. I think that's my choice of words. There, that feels a whole lot better. And now on top of this, you just gradually smooth in the last line. And that completes your beak. Totally. When we start our graphite, we're going to be starting up at the face and we'll work to the beak, then we'll work to the body, so that we can move around a little bit. Now, let's get going with this. So this is our bird's head right here. And we can move in this one right there. And we'll expand it a bit more. One more notch up. Here you go. Right there. So we've got ample time. This bird definitely needs a swatch technique. Why? Because there's too many really, really soft areas, and there's some really strong ones too. So it's a mix of the two. But I need you to work with the swatch technique also. So what that means is, you're going to grab a regular piece of paper, and you are going to create yourself a swatch. So you use your pencil and you really kind of put in a lot of the carbon that you would typically have on the tip of your pencil, but you're putting it into this little swatch and you're going to use it with your blending stick. That's your combination right there. And I'm gonna go sharpen my pencil one more time because we're starting with the eye. A sharp tip is such a big requirement. I kid you not on this one. It is just so essential. Put this guy over here so we can use him later. Start with the eye. Notice that the back area of your eye is the darkest in terms of the blacks that you see in the eye. So what I would ask you to do is just go ahead and use your pencil directly here, please. And you want to really trace over that line nicely. And you want to put in a good amount of your graphite right here. Like so. And then you can use your blending stick, rub it over all of this stuff, and bring all the carbon forward. And you can slowly build up to the darkness that you would like to see. For sure, you don't have to do it right away. Now this looks too bright, so again, we're going to add in some of our graphite pencil directly. Uh-oh. I went and I stuck myself in my own eye. I need to get that out. I need to get that out. Uh-oh. Here comes my tough stuff. And so here's my last one, and I'm going to put my little carbon all around it. And I'm going to bring my carbon up to the front also and gradually reduce its intensity by hand versus using the stump. This is not the place to use your swatch and stump. This is the place to put direct graphite because of the intensity that you need. Okay, this is the first area done. So this is what you want for your eye, number one. Now, when you look at this picture, you want to make the line of the lid one more time. Run your pencil over it one. Run your pencil over this bottom lip right here too, and inside. And what you will do is you will run your blending stick over this, and you'll bring the pigment in under the eye and over. Now, you still see a little bit of extra darkness there, so pick up from your swatch now, right under the lid itself, right over here. This is where it's a little bit extra dark. So if you really want to control this, you want to use your swatch, take your blending stick and just take a little bit off and apply it right there. So you get that slight darkness that you're hoping for. And you want to keep your top lid bright only in the center. The rest of it can go into grays, but the top of it should stay brighter. Now, let's put in the darker areas first, shall we? So that means right in front of the eye over here, you'll see a sort of a triangular shape right there. And I want you to apply directly with your pencil shading into this. First off, so this would be dark here. You would apply shading anywhere where you see it being darker than normal, which is this top red pigment area here around the eye to the back. I see it darker there. Where else do I see it darker? I see it darker down here. So I'm going to use my pencil directly here. Why? Because if I was to use my the swatch technique, it needs a lot of layers, and I can maybe not avoid that. So you have to make a judgment call most of the times when you work with these techniques. What should you use and where should you apply it? I'm applying the darkest wherever I see more intensity. That's how I'm reading this picture. You are going to have those are my areas of prominence. I want to have a little bit more on the top of the eyelid here, this red pigmented area, a little bit there. Maybe a tiny bit into the bird's beak right about here. And following the shape of its formation over. Now, let's start using our blending stick. Remember, this part is the red pigmented area. It feels and looks darker, so typically people would look at it and say, well, it's much more darker than the rest of it. I definitely need to put more pigment into it. True and then not so true either. You just have to follow your lights and darks. Now I want to intensify under the beak a lot more because it just feels a lot more darker here. So I'm going to add more pigment to this area. Keep in mind, we talked about this, I think, the last time. In art, as you complete one area, it will make you go back to a different area and look at it in a new way. I want to darken this triangle in front of the eye a little bit more, and also this area just above the eye right here. There you go. That, I'm happy with it right now. I can move to something else. All this feather stuff we're going to do later on, but we're moving towards the beak now. So I'm going to see if I can fit everything onto one screen. There we go. And we are going to also try for the same over here. So this is our next step. Apply with your pencil directly all the places where you see it really dark. So I'm starting with my top line, and right over here I see a little like a nostril passage right here. So I'm going to identify that and put it in. After this, I get to see this line for the very top layer one, and I'm going to put more to it. Two, I'm applying into as dark as I see kind of a situation. Remember, there's some bright spots also, so you want to capture those. Look at where I'm applying all my really darks. There's like a spot here on the bird's beak, right over here. Maybe a birthmark, I don't know. But it needs to be addressed. Now, what I would ask you to do after you do all these prominence and everything is we are going to identify the bright spot in the beak. And we're going to leave those alone, but everywhere else we'll lightly shade up. So there's a very big light spot here, right under here, and look at the difference in my shading on the top and on the bottom. Another bright spot right here, moving into this area. So I intentionally am leaving all my bright spots wherever I see them. That's my lowest part of the beak. Coming to the middle part of the beak, you have got right there. Over here, coming in over here, there is a brighter spot right on the bottom of this beak right here. Right there. Going to the very top layer, you are going to have I identify it and I mark it off first. And of course, you can make it lighter and darker based on how you perceive it. So if this area is darker than the one in the middle of the beak, you can put more of the carbon over there. That's definitely okay.
It's hazy, right? Me like this.
Oh yeah, there you go, Abby. Beautiful. So keep your eye on it. Anytime you pick something else up with your eyes, Abby, take care of it, you know? So even as I look at it, I keep seeing new stuff. It's like, oh, I need to do this. And so my thing is always kind of evolving. Right there. So now I've got all my shades down. Once you have all your shades down, that's when you can use your blending stick and you can soften up all these strokes and you can just gently rub over it. You don't need a lot of pressure because see, you've already put the carbon directly onto your paper. So it's doing its job for you. Don't need to push it, and be careful where you stroke because you might end up taking it off the paper to a place where you didn't want it. And I don't want you to feel like, oh, I didn't want it and I'm stuck with it now. Now, see, once you do the beak, how do you feel about this red skin around its beak now? So this is when you go back to that and you say, I want to darken it. No, I think I'm happy. This is where you have to kind of make decisions on those things. So you have to revisit everything that you've done, make sure that they feel like they're balanced, and then you can move forward with anything else that you might need. The one place where I feel like I want not such a sharp line is this one, right behind the bird's, at the back of the beak, the widest part. So I'm going to daub away. Daubing is when you take your eraser and you're not rubbing it, you're just pushing down on one place so as you can take off the carbon from that place, and you can reduce it, and you can then re-alter it to whatever it is that you wanted to do. So now that I've done this, what I would like to do is I would like to use my blending stick and just kind of weave in and out and make this look a little bit more natural looking. Instead of that sharp black line that I had, I want it to be a little less. Okay, moving on to the head, right over here. So we're going to move our bird also. So what you want to do is there's a very prominent shadow that is to the back of the bird's head, and I can literally draw it for you. So behind the eye, here you go. Watch the computer. This is one. Do you see this design? Now, coming down over here, you would have this shadow kind of go across. So all this space here is shadowed first. But which part of it is shadowed more than the other? That you want to know. So this part right here. Like this. So take your pencil where you see it to be darker, and you can add in. Keep your pressure low. Do not increase the pressure just because of a single line or anything that you might suddenly see. Maintain a consistent pressure on how you wish to see this shadow. Now this is your darkest one. After this, you're going to apply shadow over the rest of it, which is this part, which we said is shadowed. And so you can apply a general shadow into all of this. And you would let it go over the really dark part one more time. Right there. You would also apply it above the eye. This part is a little bit more deeper to tone, so I'm taking the liberty to put more pressure here. The back of the neck here has got a lot of prominent shadow here. Abby, that is so, it is wonderful. Just simply wonderful. But now you have to add in your medium tones. Bring those in. But you have to make the back merge with it. So that's going to be your challenge. Make sure that it feels like it's all one bird versus too dramatic, not enough. But it's really nice. What you just showed me, oh my goodness. I love it. If it's bright in an area like this one, I have to leave it bright. Even if it's easier to just kind of go over everything, even then, I have to leave it bright. Now remember, as your carbon starts to build up on your paper, please remember to put a towel under your hand if you have to rest your hand on the paper. Thank you. Now, before I start working on the lower body, I want to come back up here and address this. So I've done a general shading. Now's my time to add in like the really dark. So for example, over here, this part of the upper area is like a really prominent dark. So I'm going to bring that in now. If you guys hear a loud like throwing kind of a noise, that's the jiu-jitsu play above me. They're like vicious and brutal, I guess, at throwing people around just like bags. It's really loud. I think they're really going at it today. Now, as I move to the lighter areas, I try to make sure that my strokes are in the direction of the feathers. So now is the time when you can't just be whichever direction you want to be. Now is the time where if you deliberately kind of stroke in like a feather effect, it will help you kind of wrap up this picture. I guess it's the Clash of the Titans up there. They're really doing it today. I've never heard them be so vicious about it. But there's the first time for everything. If you don't want this line to be staying on the edge of the bird, you can definitely erase it off. And you can soften up that edge on the bird's body. Make it more feather-like, you know? So you don't have to have it short strokes that kind of just inch, like very marginally come out over the line that you initially drew, help to create the effect of feather on top of the bird's head. So as you can see, I'm not able to leave the top head portion because as I add, I keep finding more areas that I think I need to rectify, and I do that. So okay, and now moving down to this point, keep the bird sort of right there. So this is a time when you can kind of start stroking with your blending stick. So you can load up and again you would want to take away your outline because birds and humans, none of us have a line that's kind of drawn around us. So you don't really, once you get the art going, you want to get rid of all these superficial lines because they don't help you really. And instead what you're going to do.
Miss Daisy?
Yep.
I need to take a break and what did I say, Grandma? Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let me see your picture, Leela, before you head out.
Okay, show it to her. Go show it to her. It's okay.
Nice, Leela. That is really good, Leela. You look at the shape of the bird. You've captured all of it really well. Take a break. It's okay. Don't worry about it. You can, we'll see you next week, okay? No, sorry, next week is Thanksgiving. After that. All right, off you go, Leela. Have a wonderful holidays, okay?
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm using my blending stick to just kind of pick up from my swatch, and I'm creating really light reflections on the body. I'm not using my pencil at this point, but I want to create like the feeling of patches of feathers at the very least. Again, because this section of any bird is got the tiniest of feathers, and unless we really magnify, we are not going to see them. Now that little line on the base of the neck of the bird is a really sharp kind of a line. I really want to get that. So I'm going to literally draw it in and then add a little bit more of value. That means carbon to that section. The what? Advik. Okay, 1 minute, beta. I'm watching your picture. The patch behind the eye, you've left it quite bright. You need to pull that down a bit. And the shadows that are coming from the neck to the body, this part, Advik, make sure that you balance the body with it. It's very strong right now, so the body has to kind of sink in with it. Just keep working and you'll see it yourself. I don't want you to try to fix it right now or do anything to it. Just keep moving as you would, and then keep stepping away from your picture to kind of see how you like the entire picture. That will help you a lot. So look at how I'm doing a light and dark effect all down the neck. Can you see that? This is, and as I get to the back, my little patches are going to start becoming bigger. And I'm going to do a reverse effect of putting in feathers into this lighter area.
Miss Daisy?
Yeah?
So you're supposed to do it like this?
Straighten it up. Take it. Okay. So you guys have got this shadow. Now you have to make it blend in. You and Advik are both with this strong shadow right here. But what you need to do is you need to show it blending in. So for example, let's start with one area. How about that? So this part here to this part, these two lines. The in-between area needs to be transitional so that it doesn't feel like two prongs that are coming out. So see if you can get this one done first. Let's go one by one. So if you don't get it by just the blending stick, don't be afraid to add in a little bit more pencil, very lightly, of course. And this time you're definitely using the stroking technique. Stroke, 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 stroke. And you definitely want that because it will help you capture in the feather effect. So now look, when I added that, can you see how these two that were looking independent have started to mix together? So that's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to create a little bit more of a blend to the whole thing.
A little bit?
A little bit more.
Like, so, this better?
So you've got the shadows going in between, but I still need, so when you look at my thing, does this feel like there are two lines and then there's a bright gap in between them, or does this feel like it's one big piece?
Feels like it's one.
Well, that's what I want from the one that you did. Then this little line that comes out, which has this dimple at the end, this is a separate one. And there is another gap in between here and here. I'm gonna go sharpen my pencil. Please check your pencil tips, everyone. Okay, so let's have a look at this bird in totality. There's my bird.
Blend. That blend.
Much better. Oh yes, for by far. That looks way better. Now have a look at my bird, guys. And look, again, when you look at the darkness that I created here, and then these lighter areas, and you look at the photograph, I would say that I need to add more here because it's too bright. Although there, you can tell that there's shadow, but it's brighter than what the picture is showing me. Does that make sense? So those are the kind of things that I need you to kind of check for yourself and say whether you're happy or not happy with what you've got. So I've opened up the entire picture so that all of us can have a look at it. Reduce the pressure on that finger. Really light. If you use your pencil to this picture at this point, you have to use the lightest pressure that you have. And the other thing that I noticed is that this area around the mouth, I mean, that's red. I've followed the light and dark. I just feel like it's too white comparatively. When you look at the whole thing now have a reassessment on this part, the red part. It's that red pigment area. What would you guys do? Abby, Advik, Peter, would you guys put some carbon to this? And would you darken it, or would you find that this is okay as is? What would you say? Look at the entire picture, right? And compare it to the main photograph on the computer. What would you say? Just because it's a darker color, should I go in for more graphite?
I think you should do a little bit more darker. Yeah.
Increase it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Little bit. Okay. Peter, how about you?
Yeah, increase it.
Okay. So this is, I'm asking you on my picture. Now I want you to check your own. You have to look at your own pictures in totality. Just like you help me check mine, you check yours now. And instead of creating a darkness back here, I'm thinking that I'll just trail it off. So that means I will get rid of this line here. I'm not going to leave it open, number one. But I will use that line to just kind of fade away the bird's feather effect. And again, on the neck here, this feels too bright. Although it's shadowed, but it depends, compared to the picture, it feels too bright. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to add in here, just inside of this. And again, this area on the underside, I feel like it needs more darkening. So I'm going to add an overall layer of
So, will I do it like that?
oh yeah. Honestly, Abby, I think you're bringing it all together right now. Again, I need you to check, put that picture away, take 10 steps back. All of you have been sitting directly at the computer. See, my picture is distanced because I'm not looking at this. I'm looking at the one on my computer. And the one on my computer has already distanced itself to me. So it gives me a really good perspective. You guys need to get that for yourself. You do not want to just keep sitting near the computer and think that that's enough. You need to get up and move away 10 steps back. Put your picture, or second way, if you have a mobile phone, take a snapshot of your work. Put it up here, put the camera up here, snap, and now look at the picture in the camera. How do you feel? That will distance it, and you will be able to say how you feel about it. Now, before we forget little details, look at the few places where you see a little bit of the feathers, like these tiny little baby feathers. So if you increase this right up here at the top, look at the picture over this thing. So you have these little kind of feathers here. Do not forget to add those in. Make sure that your pencil is nicely sharpened before you go anywhere to touch that. Similarly, around the corner of the mouth here, this is not the way you want to leave it. You want to kind of use it as like little strokes to show the indents towards this thing becoming feathers. So I'm making the lines a little bit uneven is what I'm doing. If you can see it closer up, there was a very sharp line here. But when I look at the bird's image over there, I see this unevenness. So I'm bringing that unevenness. I want to use the line that I already have in place, and I want to add a little bit of bumpiness to it. What else can I think of? The front part of the spot is darker than the back part, so I'm going to add a little bit here. This part is good. I like it. And this part is all good. I like it. What else? I'm adding a little bit of a feather effect to the back of this bird's neck, just a tiny bit. You could maybe see it. Look over here on the neck right there, because on the picture you can see just enough of it. So this would also bring in an element of realism. I'm stroking in a few strokes of the feathers in this back area. This is where I can see some of it. Add in the strokes with your pencil now at this point. In the last 5 minutes of this session, this is all you need to do. Please keep your eye on the picture. You have to be the best judge of like, where do you see a few light kind of feathers that are just kind of sticking up and you can see them very vividly. Put them in, just stroke a little bit. So you're scattering it. You're not having intense layers of stroking. You don't want that. You don't want it to be very, very dominant at all. I see a little bit on this part of the body. So this is where I would like to kind of put in a few. I need to go sharpen my pencil. Remember, these are all exercises to help us get stronger. So when you look at this, try it. And that way you'll see how you can modify it.